Japan just crossed a post-war red line, and Beijing didn't see it coming. Tokyo's helicopter destroyer is now a true aircraft carrier, reshaping Taiwan's military balance faster than anyone expected. Here's the part most people get completely wrong. Every time Taiwan is mentioned, it turns into this dramatic Hollywood-style showdown. Washington versus Beijing, two giants staring each other down across the Pacific like it's the final scene of a blockbuster. But that's not how wars actually unfold. Real power isn't decided by speeches, emergency summits, or headlines. It's decided by what's already out there. Engines humming, radars spinning, jets fueled, submarines lurking where nobody can see them. The opening hours matter more than anything. Not day 3, not week 2. The first few hours. Because reinforcements take time, political decisions take time. But ships are already sailing, aircraft already on deck, crews already tracking underwater movement. They move instantly, and that shifts the entire focus. This isn't just about the United States and China anymore. It's about the regional force posture already positioned across the Western Pacific. Who's closer? Who's ready? Who can respond first? That's the real story, and this is where things quietly changed. For years, Japan played a background role. Bases? Yes. Logistics? Absolutely. But the spotlight stayed on Washington. That's not the case anymore. Look at the map for a second. The Ryukyu Islands sit less than 430 miles from northern Taiwan. That stretch of water isn't just blue space, it's a strategic corridor. Control that corridor, and you control access to the Pacific. That's leverage. Okinawa's bases aren't just support hubs, they're frontline assets, airfields, missile defenses, rapid deployment platforms. And when you connect Japan to Taiwan and down to the Philippines, you see the shape of it, the first island chain. It's not theory, it's geography. Japan now sits at the top of that chain, no longer as a quiet rearguard, but as an emerging deterrence power. If something happens in the Taiwan Strait, Japan isn't watching from behind anymore. It's right there, at the gateway. And that changes the equation fast. Because now Beijing isn't just calculating a US response, it's calculating Japan too. And that's a very different scenario. And here's where the quiet shift turns into something bigger. Meet JS Izumo and JS Kaga. Officially, Tokyo still calls them helicopter destroyers. Sounds harmless, right? Defensive, technical, almost modest. But look at them. These ships push over 26,000 tons. Long, flat flight decks stretching across the horizon. Massive internal hangars. They were introduced as anti-submarine warfare platforms, built to track submarines in the East China Sea and coordinate maritime defense. That was the public story. Behind the scenes, though, the design always left room for more. The deck layout, the elevator strength, the internal spacing. From the earliest stages, some provisions hinted at fixed-wing aircraft operations. It wasn't loud. It wasn't advertised. It was long-term planning, done quietly. And that matters. Because in Japan, the word aircraft carrier carries historical weight. After World War II, projecting power became politically sensitive, almost taboo. So instead of announcing a career program, Tokyo evolved one. What we're watching isn't just a ship upgrade. It's a symbolic shift, a slow, deliberate step away from strict post-war limitations and towards something far more assertive.
For the Marines, the sailors of Marine Fighter Attack Squadron 242, and the members of USS America crew, the eyes of the world are on you and your ability to integrate with our key ally. I want you all to remain focused and ensure the successful execution of this critically important capabilities test that you should be very proud to be a part of. More importantly, critical members of the region will be watching closely. They will have to recognize the bilateral interoperability demonstrated by this event cannot be accomplished by any other member in the region.
But everything changed when the Lockheed Martin F-35B Lightning II entered the picture. This short takeoff and vertical landing fighter can operate from smaller decks without catapults, making it ideal for ships like Japan's Izumo and Kaga. Once deployed, Japan gains something it hasn't had for decades: true air power at sea. The ships can carry up to 12 F-35Bs or a mixed air wing with anti-submarine helicopters. Operating near Taiwan cuts response time dramatically. Fighters launch closer to potential flashpoints, reducing reliance on U.S. carriers and complicating Chinese planning. Suddenly, Japanese jets could already be in the air when crises unfold. You can't simply park advanced jets on a helicopter deck and call it a carrier. The flight deck had to be reinforced with heat-resistant materials to survive the intense downward blast of F-35B vertical landings. The bow was redesigned into a more square shape, improving aircraft movement and deck operations. Inside, jet fuel systems, ammunition storage, elevators, and maintenance areas were all upgraded. The ships were also integrated into the Link 16 data network, fully connecting them to Allied digital combat systems and carrier operations. And here's where flexibility becomes power. In pure strike mode, the Izumo class can carry up to 12 F-35Bs, a compact but serious punch for a regional theater. In a hybrid configuration, it can deploy 6 to 8 fighters alongside 8 to 10 SH-60K helicopters. That mix allows air superiority and submarine hunting at the same time. Switch to full anti-submarine warfare mode, and the ship can operate up to 14 helicopters. That matters because Chinese naval doctrine leans heavily on submarines. With towed sonar arrays, anti-submarine torpedoes, and unmanned buoys, the Izumo becomes more than a flight deck. It becomes a moving shield beneath the surface. No, it's not a U.S. supercarrier. But in a regional conflict close to Taiwan, it doesn't need to be. It just needs to be there, and ready. Now let's be clear. This isn't a floating giant like the Nimitz-class aircraft carrier, and it's definitely not on the scale of the Gerald R. Ford-class aircraft carrier. Those are massive supercarriers built for global dominance. The Izumo class is smaller. It has no catapults, which means its F-35Bs launch under their own power. That limits payload and range compared to carrier-based F-35Cs or F/A-18S flying off American decks. But here's the thing. This isn't about matching U.S. capacity aircraft for aircraft. In a regional conflict near Taiwan, distance shrinks, response time shrinks. Presence matters more than raw numbers. And when a carrier is already operating inside the first island chain, size suddenly becomes less important than proximity. But wait, no ship is untouchable. The Izumo class carries limited self-defense systems: CRAM, Phalanx CIWS. Solid last-ditch protection, but not a full long-range shield. That means heavy reliance on escort vessels, and that's where the danger grows. China fields anti-ship ballistic missiles like the DF-21D and DF-26, weapons specifically designed to threaten large surface ships. Any high-intensity conflict would put carriers at serious risk. Then there's politics. Japan's post-war identity still shapes decision-making. Deploying F-35Bs into active combat isn't just a military call, it's a political one. And numbers matter. There are only 2 ships. Lose one, or even sideline one for repairs, and capability drops sharply. And these vessels aren't meant to fight alone. They were never designed to. They're powerful, but only inside a larger network. And this is where the story gets bigger than one country. The Izumo doesn't operate alone. It fits into a wider defensive network. Japanese Maya-class and Atago-class destroyers equipped with Aegis systems form the outer air defense layer. Overhead, U.S. Boeing P-8 Poseidon patrol aircraft provide reconnaissance and tracking data across shared networks, while bombers and refueling aircraft from Guam extend operational reach. Australia contributes anti-submarine capabilities, and South Korea supports logistics, repairs, and communications. This distributed force links ships, aircraft, and command centers across multiple domains. Striking a single vessel wouldn't break the system, it simply shifts operations elsewhere. An operational Izumo-class carrier gives Japan rapid regional intervention capability, strengthening deterrence and complicating Chinese planning. But the deeper shift isn't just military, it's historical. Since 1945, Japan's identity has been rooted in pacifism, shaped by constitutional constraints and public caution toward power projection. An aircraft carrier challenges that psychology. It marks a milestone, not aggression, but non-normalization. Japan is stepping back into a regional security guarantor role, accepting greater responsibility in an increasingly unstable Pacific. For decades, Japan promised it would never project power again. Now it sails a carrier capable of recapturing the Taiwan battlefield overnight. The question isn't whether China noticed, it's how Beijing plans to respond. Is this deterrence or the beginning of a new Pacific era?